my mother was one of the first in the school, first black to hold a position in the school board, a major position, and it got her. We got death threats, literally. Someone called and threatened to burn the house down. Called N-word, you're not qualified to hold this school position. You're not qualified to be over my children. One time I answered the phone. I was a little kid, maybe 7 or 8, and he thought I was my mom because my voice was so high-pitched. And the things he said.
I'm Andre, and this is the Speak Your Life podcast, where we talk about everything as it relates to education, careers, values, mentors, and anything to do with purpose. We do this one impactful conversation at a time, whether it's solo dolo with yours truly or our amazing guests to share stories, industry insights, encouraging words, and calls to action that can help you get closer to your why. Become a part of the Speak Your Life community by subscribing today to the podcast and following us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Speak Your LYFE, because life without your why is meaningless. Hey guys, just wanted to give you a quick heads up on today's episode. When we recorded this months ago, we had a small technical difficulty where my mics were not picking up as much as my guests. But other than that, we had great content and it was amazing. So enjoy. All right, so today's guest I have with me is a special guest. He's from Harding University. We shared the same alma mater. He's a few classes ahead of me, but that's okay.
Yes.
He's still young at heart and doing great work. He is now in New York City. He's been here for some time now, in over 20 years. And he has been a social worker, doing amazing work that people a lot of times don't see the value in, but it is so needed. And what he does is such an amazing thing. He is one of the leaders of the East Coast Inspirational Singers, which he'll tell us more about in the podcast and in this interview. And please help me to welcome Mr. Terrance Talley to the show. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Today is a good day. We were off today.
Yeah. Those off days are always good days. Always good days.
Yes, I got out and I walked 8 miles today.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I did.
I think that's like I've learned since I moved up here to New York, New Jersey area. It's like walking is such a big part of
yes, it is.
New Yorker's life.
And it's therapeutic.
Yeah. You see all the buildings and trees and stuff like that.
Scenery.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And man, so let's get into things. And so I want to know. Tell us about your story and from as a child, like growing up and just going through college and coming to where you are now and where you work. Tell us about that.
Well, my story starts in Ohio. My parents, they're no longer with me, but they were amazing people, amazing Christians. My dad, he was the first in his family to earn a master's degree, and he earned that master's degree during the Jim Crow era, and so he was told even back then that hey, your degree is not worth much, but my father knew otherwise. My mother was a social worker as well, and she was heavily involved in the school system in Ohio and heavily involved in the council of PTAs, and she was a community organizer. And we hear about community organizing. Our former president Barack Obama was a community organizer, and so when folks made light of that position, community organizer, I thought, hey, my mom was a community organizer, and she was amazing. Because the community organizers, they're on the battlefield. They're the ones out there fighting for education and for health care and for overall for human rights. And so that's what my mother did. So they instilled all of those things in myself. I'm the youngest of 7 children.
Oh man. Wow, youngest of 7.
Youngest of 7.
But
yes.
I bet you came out taller than all of them.
Let me see. I'm about 6'8". A brother that was 6'7", other one 6'6", 6'5". Yeah, yes, I was. The doctor predicted it when he looked at my feet as a baby. He said he's going to be the tallest of your children. Isn't that something? He can look at someone's feet and tell that. So,
I did not know that.
Yes, he looked at my feet, and yeah. But growing up in Ohio,
What part of Ohio?
Akron, Ohio.
Okay.
I
got family in Columbus.
Okay, yeah. I lived in Columbus for a while. But my mother, when she, like I said, she was a politician on the local level. And I remember passing out her flyers for her at grocery stores and on the front porches. So I got to see firsthand. And sometimes my mother would even have to take me, situation would present itself where my mother had to take me to work with her sometimes. And I got to see what she was doing for the people that were entrusted, that they entrusted for her to work with. And highly effective, highly respected. And so that I took note of the type of social worker my mom was, and she was amazing with people. And so I knew that one day I wanted to do something where I was able to work directly with people and help them to help themselves ultimately, which is what my mother did. And that was my early years. Those were the early years growing up in Ohio. Eventually, I would go on to college, and eventually after college, I would make it to New York, and I knew I wanted to do something where I would work with people in some capacity. Eventually, I was blessed to work in the social service field. And the interesting thing is I started out as a case manager for teen fathers. Believe it or not, we had fathers that were as young as 14 years old. And it was my first social service related job. And so it was different, and it was a new program. So we were learning what worked, what doesn't work, what do we need to do. And it was a learning experience, to say the very least. I had there were challenges. I had a supervisor that she had her own philosophy about dealing with young people. I had a different philosophy, and like I said, it was my first social service related job. But one day she said to me, because we always bumped heads, it was like oil and water. She said, you may be more suited for the entertainment industry. Really? She actually said that. It was because she knew that I sang and done some things. I said, wow. I said, no. I said, the way I was raised, my parents raised me to explore whatever I wanted to explore. I watched my mother, I watched my sister, very, very highly effective social workers in the community. I watched my dad, who was an educator and a hard worker with whatever job. I said, so they raised us with the idea of not limiting ourselves. So that would limit me. I said, I can be a social worker, but I can also be a singer at the same time. So I said, really, that's your opinion? and she said, well, my opinion is what counts because I'm the supervisor. I said, but you can't direct my career path for me. So eventually, although that was a great position, it wasn't a position where I needed to stay, and I wasn't being nurtured. I wasn't being trained, and so eventually I had to move on. That next job is where I really got my training in social services, and people took me by they took my job as, we're going to give this young man, I was young then, a learning experience. We're going to send him to trainings. there's something that we see in him that he'll be able to utilize, and he'll be valuable to this field. And I'm so glad that they did take that interest in me, and they recognized what I was capable of doing, and that was in the field of child services and foster care, different things like that. And I was a supervisor. And one job just led to another. I just kept building. I kept gaining more knowledge, more experience, more teachable moments. Even the first job, although, like she said, I should only aspire to be an entertainer, I still, there was a learning experience that I even took from that job. There were things that I learned that were transferable to the next job. I couldn't have been what I was in the second job unless I had that first experience when I was not really nurtured on the job. But I was able to take something from it. And so
definitely.
Right.
And so, that was a big thing that you mentioned, the whole lack of nurturing and
right.
stuff like that. Because a lot of times people, and I know in my own experiences in the past, like I've worked at places where I didn't feel nurtured, I didn't feel poured into, or I didn't feel like they were investing in me as an individual.
Right, or like you even mattered at the end of the day.
And that's why I really, and that's what this whole podcast is here, because there's a lot of people out there. They say the stats are 85% of Americans again that they seem to be dissatisfied and very miserable with their jobs, and it's not. A lot of times it's not even to do with the pay or the scheduling. It's a lot to do with like feeling valued, feeling like you're the company's investing in you.
Right, or that you're receiving proper supervision.
Exactly.
And so that's what it was. It was just more of a supervision issue. But eventually someone took an interest in me in my next chapter. That was chapter 1. But then the next chapter, someone took an interest in me and said, hey, we see something in this young man. So we're going to help him go back to school. We're going to do this. We're going to, because we see something in him. And so I'm so glad I left the job, She sort of made it impossible to stay. But then I went on and got hired somewhere else. But I couldn't be what I am today in 2019 had I not had those experiences back in the 90s.
Hey, this is Teddy from the Wanting Less podcast. I got a quick story for you. In 2018, my life was turned upside down. I found myself broke, depressed, exhausted, newly single after 8 years. Today, almost 2 years later, I've completely altered my financial destiny for the better, landed an amazing woman who loves me for me, and I've increased my happiness exponentially. How did I do this? How did I start fresh, but well this time? Simple, really. I made it my only focus to determine what mattered most to me, to block out the rest and get after it with a vengeance. Oh, and I didn't do it alone. Listen and subscribe to the Wanting Less podcast wherever you listen, and if you want to learn more, check out wantingless.org. Maybe today's the day that your life takes off. Talk to you soon.
Wow. And so with her making it easier for you to like transition and just like going to somewhere that you felt like you were poured into, where you felt like
it's a part of the team.
Yes. Part of the big team. That's important, especially in a job like this where you're on the you're on the front ground. You're basically in the front lines of this battleground, so to speak. You're battling people's problems with them in the trenches every single day. You're not doing it for them, but you're doing it with them.
Right.
And so that's so important to be able to have that support team behind you, because I know I have other friends that are in the social work field, and it can be like one of those jobs that's like a high burnout, because
it is.
You're taking in so many issues. You're just like dealing with so many people's problems physically, mentally, emotionally, just like kids, adults, teens, like all different, age groups and people with different socioeconomic statuses, and you have to be able to like weather that, be strong, and continue forward and doing your job, because if you're not supported, if you're not poured into, then it's just like pouring out of an empty cup. So
right, and I've been blessed to have supervisors beyond her that actually were they instructed me. They were supportive of me so that I would not have burnout. They sent me to trainings on social work burnout. They met with me weekly. Their door was open.
Good.
You know, and so I was able to learn, and and they had great modeling type behavior. I mean, they were excellent supervisors, and so. So I was able to avoid that burnout that happens with so many social workers. And but if you have a passion for what you do and you're focused, and like I said, I had a mom that went out at 12 midnight just to take someone groceries of a man had gotten his food stamps stolen. I was a teenager. I said, Mom, where are you going? And she said, I'm going out. One of my clients, his food stamps were stolen. I don't want him to be hungry over the weekend. He won't get food stamps again until Monday, and today is Friday. I said, well, Mom, I'm going to go with you because I don't want you going to a late night grocery store then going into a men's shelter to give this man groceries. So I watched my mom, and that's the best thing I could have done. I watched her in action. So things like that kept me focused. Nothing so bad. I can do, if Mom can do it, I can do it. Mom went down someone's basement and changed someone's fuses at 1 o'clock in the morning. There was an older guy. He had just lost his wife. He had lost his children, or he was somehow, his children were not in his life at the time. So he was lonely. He was scared, and the fuses went out in his house. Who did he call? My mother. She went to, I guess, a late night store again just to get fuses, to go down his basement and change those fuses in his basement. I called another friend. So I watched my mother do that as well. So I always kept that as my focus, and I still keep it as my focus today. My mother was a person who, she helped people help themselves, and then she also showed him how he could change his fuses as well. And the other guy that needed the groceries late night, she showed him how he could access pantries and different things, so that this won't happen again. And so I have that type of early teaching, that has kept me focused throughout all of these years. And I'm appreciative. I miss them very much, but what they instilled in me will last a lifetime.
And so I have like two questions just based off of like what you were just talking about there, and that really stuck out. And one was the thing about the open door policy. Just as people who are, it's a lot of millennials, there's a lot of people in college and who are looking to like go to jobs, and they're just like, man, I don't know where to start. I'm interning, but I don't know, what job or what company environment should I be a part of. And I feel like what you mentioned about the whole open door policy, how do you think that changed your life as an employee? And how do you think that's so significant, just working with a group of people?
Having that door open made me walk through it as opposed to a closed one. A closed door, you may not, you may hold things in and will never, because the door is closed, you won't, it keeps you from expressing yourself and from sharing your thoughts, sharing your concerns, your hopes. That's a closed door. An open door, you walk right through it because it's available to you.
Exactly.
So I've been blessed to have those types of doors always open. Or even if I knocked, I could enter. Instead of, well, who is it? Because I've had a few of those. So there's an advantage to the open door. It it gives you the you walk through it. You walk through that door. And you get the help.
Opportunities and
Right.
dialogue.
Right, and you get the help that you need. You get the help that you need.
Yeah.
So, and that's how my door has always been. And that's what clients have said about me over the years. If they had nothing else good to say, they'll say his door is always open. And some people, and some of my coworkers even thought that was amazing. Why is your door always open? There has to be a day when you close it. I said, if we close it, we don't know we're going to miss out on that day. Yeah. We may miss, somebody may walk past it that needed us, that may be suicidal or going through, going through some type of trial. They're going through something. So if that door is closed, they may walk past. So I've always emphasized that with my staffs that I've supervised. Keep your door open. Yeah. Of course you have your work day when you need to get your records together and organized, your notes, your service plans, but make sure for the most part that door is always open. And if it's not open, they know that they can walk through it.
You mentioned that the whole open door policy is something that you took, and you took it seriously. And I know that from what I heard earlier when you were talking about your mom and how you would, wake up with her and go late at night to places. It wasn't the safest. Like, you would help her and just see that. Yeah, I was a
big kid. Yeah. I was about 6 foot, 6'2", 13-year-old. So I said, Mom, you're not going alone.
That's right. And you got to be able to, you got to see that firsthand, like just being able to see how. That concept of open door with your boss was important, but just like seeing that concept of open door with your mom and her spirit sounded like an open door.
She set that atmosphere for her clients. Yeah. Was it the best? I mean, we didn't want her going alone, but she had, some people would say, well, she went beyond the call. She shouldn't have did that type of thing. I mean, that those instances where she went out, they were few and far between. I mean, she wasn't going out every weekend to do it.
Yeah,
but if she knew, if she felt in her heart that this person really needed something, she'd go out. She knew the man was scared to go down his basement. He was scared to be in the house alone. His wife had just died, and he was elderly. Wow. So, and he had no other person to call. Yeah. So he called his social worker. Yeah.
Wow. And how did, it's like seeing that, did that affect you as a kid and your other siblings too, just like looking up to a mom?
We were proud. We were proud of our mother. She left us soon. She left us early. She's, but we were so proud of the things she accomplished. She's listed in the Black Humanitarians for the city of Akron. She's listed in that city listing.
That's really cool.
My mother was one of the first in the first Black to hold a position in the school board, a major position, and it got her. We got death threats, literally. Someone called and threatened to burn the house down. Called N-word, you're not qualified to hold this school position. You're not qualified to be over my children. One time I answered the phone. I was a little kid, maybe 7 or 8, and he thought I was my mom because my voice was so high-pitched. And the things he said, just the N-word, just... I remember I was about 7 years old, and she was getting a series of calls, crank calls, after she had won the election, because the first thing that the city newspaper did was put her on the front page. So that put her in open. She was out there, and back then we didn't have cell phones. We just had a huge, thick phone book. They could just go into the phone book and look up her name. Oh, wow. And so they would call and threats. Burn her house down, different things. Mom, in the midst of all of that, brave. And she sat us all down and said, I want you to know, I want you to understand, I want you to take it through life, that the person that's calling here, calling me the N-word, threatening to kill us, not all people are like that person that's calling, and I need you to understand that so that you don't have an idea going out into the world where you're going to school, where you're working with people and you're dealing with people, that you don't judge people based on what this person is doing that's calling, saying these awful things. And she said, you all have to promise that you're going to take that with you and throughout life. And we say, yes, Mom, we will. We will.
Yeah.
And wow. And we have.
Yeah. The BBC reports a U.S. workers' online study said that nearly 70% agree public speaking skills are critical for success at work. Maybe you are a student looking to become a prime candidate for that internship, or might I say full-time position, or maybe you have already been in the job market for some time now and you just want to stand out amongst your coworkers looking to get that raise you feel like you've been passed up for too long now. Go to speakyourlife.com/private-lessons. That's speakyourlyfe.com/private-lessons. Again, that's speakyourlyfe.com/private-lessons to become a better communicator tomorrow by signing up today. Tell us about your position now that you've had and the one that you had recently, how you transitioned. What you do daily?
For the last 20 years, I've been doing what is called supportive housing.
Okay.
Supportive housing, you take a population and they live in an apartment building, and all of them have a common challenge. And in-house, instead of a regular apartment building, you have a staff of social workers, life skill coaches, job developers, and they can come down to our offices and receive services, education, helping them with referrals, helping them with pantry, counseling them, creating a service plan for them, or what I like to call is a life plan, because some clients, they don't like the term service plan. So I said, well, what about a life plan? Is that more workable for you? Because we all have a life plan. Yeah. Myself, you, the security guard, the man you see across the street hanging on the corner. We all have a life plan. So yeah, I like that, Mr. Talley. That's better. Life plan works better. It's more natural.
Sounds more humane.
Right, and so instead of a service plan. So we do that. And so supportive housing, that's what I've been doing for 20 years. And I've been serving as a director. I was blessed to be a social service director for these buildings. About 4 different buildings I've had. I've had a youth aging out of foster care building. Then I've had just buildings with folks that have just had various challenges in their lives. I can't really say what challenges they are, but they've had some challenges and that we've had to help them work through. So I've been doing that. But recently I was given the opportunity to be more, because I've been doing it for so long. I'm old at this now. I guess I'm an old pro. I've been now given an opportunity to work with families and youth in a quality assurance type of position where I oversee the services that people are receiving. And I'm making sure that they're receiving proper services, that the plan is actually based on their own needs as opposed to the case manager's needs, because a lot of case managers, and myself included, early on would just tell the tenant or tell the client or consumer, as we call them, what they need to do with their lives. How can we tell them that? The client knows best. They know what they need to do. So we don't bark orders at them and say, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. I think you should do this, I think you should do that. It has to be very client-centered, and so we do. So the plan, the life plan, is the most important part about it all. So, but right now, I've been at the job a little over a week, and I'm still going to serve in a consultant a consultant position with the former job. They didn't want to totally let me go.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. And I left there. I left there on good terms.
That's awesome.
They understood why I needed to leave and why this position was the next in line for me.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, it's more of a quality assurance. I've done all this work all these years. Certainly I know how things should be running.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so that's why they've put me in this position. So I'm excited about the position.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just another continuance in the journey and helping people help themselves,
Yeah.
and still focusing back on what mom and dad did way back in the day.
Wow.
You know.
Man. And you know, there's so many. I'm sure you've had some opportunities to continue in like jobs that like made quote unquote a whole bunch of money, like
Mm-hmm.
you know, but you chose to stay in this field that, you know, it has a lot of burnout, it has a lot of
Mm-hmm.
hardship, it has a lot of
Mm-hmm.
you know, dirt and grime, and just being there in the trenches
Yeah.
with the people that you work with.
We're not rich.
Yeah. Definitely. And so what made you like stay where you're at, like, and just, you know, and see that this is your calling, even though maybe you could have been somewhere else that could have quote unquote made more?
Well, I was speaking to an entertainer, one of the entertainers that we've worked with. I won't say the person's name, but they said to me, they said, "What do you do?" They said, "Because we watch you when you're on the gigs, on stage with us and different things, and we see how you operate around your group. You have this calming effect, and almost like a counselor." And I said, "Well, I work in the social work field," and they said, "I knew it," and they said, "It's the way you carry yourself." I said, "Really? You were paying that much attention to me?" I said, "You're the star of the show tonight on stage."
Yeah.
They said, "We pay attention to everybody," but they were paying attention, and so like even with the people I work with in the industry, the music industry, they've said you seem to have this calming effect, and you know they always want to know what I do, and I tell them what I do, and then they're not surprised. And then one of the artists said to me, and it's always stuck with me, he said, "Yes, I know you love to sing and everything, and you do that well, your group does that well." He said, "But that social work piece is really your ministry." He said, "You can always come and sing with us and sing behind us and everything and sing on TV, but that social work piece is your ministry." And I had another one say, "I'm glad you're a social worker because I know you're going to always treat this part, your music part, you're going to give that 100% too, because it seems like you give your social work 100%. So it's not a lot it's not a lot, but it's a livable wage, so that I can live in New York City, and not be somewhere, not be struggling. I mean, it's decent, you know, but I have a passion for the work, and I have parents that have passion for what they did, and so there's honor in all work. You can find some honor in it, and so there's honor in all. You have to find something. And so I'm not burned out, and I say, and the music is a therapy, you know, because I can sing on the weekends and I can sing at night, and but then I know on Monday morning I'm right behind that desk with my open door, being a social worker, you know, and so it goes all the way back to that one supervisor that said I should choose music over social work, you know.
Wow.
And I said to her, I can do both, you know, and I have done both, and I've done both effectively. Won several awards. I've been asked to speak on several panel discussions.
Who have you sung for? Who have you guys sung for?
The group has we've sang background for Patti LaBelle. We've sang background for Celine Dion. We've sang background for Alicia Keys, Josh Groban, the music mogul David Foster. We've been on Good Morning America, the Today Show, David Letterman Show, Saturday Night Live, just different things, you know. That's just to name a few. But So the music piece helps me with my social work. Maybe it sort of goes hand in hand. If I know that I'm singing this weekend, and so, I do my social work job, and then I go sing on the weekends, and so, it works out. It works out well.
Social worker during the week and
singer
on the weekends,
and some weeknights.
Yeah.
Yes. So.
Wow. And so that's, with you, traveling and going to different places, and I'm sure you have some things that, some things that you have, that you stand on as far as your life. Looking at like a house and what is that one thing that helps you to just keep yourself together, being able to balance being a social worker while also being a singer, a great singer as well.
I'm okay.
Oh, he's just a humble guy.
It's what I learned early on, even before I became a social worker, is to always focus on matters that matter. And that's what I do. If it matters to me and it's important, that's going to be my focus. And that's with everything.
Yeah.
That's with everything.
Yeah.
Focus on matters that matter.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's my foundation. And it always has been, even way back. And when I was a child, And so just not sitting by, just doing things that it's a dead end. No dead end issues. No dead end. No, you're not going down a road that has a dead end.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't matter.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Wow.
So that's it. Focus on matters that matter, and I'll continue to focus on matters that matter on social media, in my jobs, in my music. I don't accept every music gig, but if it matters to us, I'm going to do it.
Good. And so now I have the question of the day. We moved into this segment where we're just ask you just a random question and just to get to know you a little bit more.
Okay.
And so that question is, if you were to go back in time and you were to, and let's just say that you were never a social worker, and what do you think you would be? If, as kids we always grew up and we're just like, oh, I want to be a police officer, I want to be a fireman. What do you think you would have been like had you not been a social worker, or what were you thinking?
I would have been retiring now as an athlete.
Oh yeah.
My dad was an athlete. My dad was in the Negro Leagues, actually.
For baseball.
Wow. And all of us were sort of groomed to be athletes. And my brothers were better ball players than I. I could have been much better, but I was always compared to them. If you arch your hand and shoot your jump shots like this, I probably would have been some type of athlete, and then I probably would have moved into sports management, empowerment, just to make sure athletes are treated well, they know their rights, and that they a job where I was able to help them manage their funds so that they don't go broke.
Yeah, so many of them.
That would have probably been something. That still would have been social work in a sense, but athlete, and then going to actually making sure athletes are treated well. Something like that. That probably would have been my other calling.
Wow. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Because I remember even in one job I've had early on, even before I was a social worker, I worked at a college, and I was one of the ones that would I'd do the observation of the supervised study hall of all the athletes, just to make sure they were studying. And because we just don't want them just to play basketball. We want them to get a decent education where they'll have something else to fall back on. You know, yes, you want to be a professional athlete, but what else can you do?
Yeah, that's
you know, what else can you do? So I would have been involved in some type of athletic type of field, you know.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, you had the height for it, so
yes,
it would fit perfectly. But all right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and for listening to this episode. We didn't talk too much about the singing group. We'll definitely have to have them on as a group the next time on another episode. But if you want to learn more about Terrance Talley and his group, you can go to eastcoastinspirationalsingers.com and learn more about what they've done. And if you have an event and you want them to come out, be sure to contact them. Today, be sure to do it today.
Yes, do it today. You know,
wait tomorrow.
Yeah, because the holidays are coming up.
Yeah. So again, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Again, be sure to subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on Instagram at Speak Your Life, and be sure to give us any feedback from today's episode. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and have a great day.
Thank you so much.